Difficult decisions. The simplest way to make hard choices. Finding clarity when making difficult decisions may seem like a miracle. Crazy long pros and cons lists, overthinking, analysis paralysis, self-perpetuating confusion. You may know what I'm talking about. This podcast is for those who don't know what to do next, those struggling with making decisions either at present or in general. This podcast can help you get unstuck, make whatever decision you need to make, and enjoy peace of mind. And who knows, it can also help you make a lasting change in your life. Tough decisions. Not knowing what to do. When faced with a difficult decision, you may feel tempted to avoid making that F-word decision forever. When making decisions, you probably don't want to miss or forget anything. You don't want to feel guilty after the decision has been made. As a result, you may feel tempted to stay stuck for years. Or you may want someone else to tell you what to do. Yes, you can try to delegate difficult decisions to someone else, like asking your partner to choose the house for the two of you. You can even delegate simpler choices, like asking the waiter to choose your meal for you. However, if you give away your power of choice too often, you may feel like a victim who has no say in creating their life. Not cool. That's why don't expect anyone to tell you what to do exactly. Instead, empower yourself with more confidence and trust your inner voice. Difficult decisions examples. Having a choice is a privilege that can make our life complicated. Choice means responsibility. Just think about the effort required to collect all relevant information to make a good decision you won't regret. Hopefully. So, here are a few examples of difficult choices. Pursuing a degree, choosing a university, changing jobs, changing careers, quitting a job, starting a business, taking a break from a relationship, ending a relationship, having a baby or not, choosing a school for a child, relocating to a different city or the countryside, moving abroad, returning home from abroad, telling a difficult truth, making large purchases, such as buying a house or an expensive electronic device. Everyday decisions can be difficult too. For instance, what should I wear? What should I have for lunch? Which shampoo should I use? Which flavor should I taste? So, if you don't know what to do, first ask yourself these two questions. Do you understand the causes of your decision paralysis and procrastination? Are you eager to take more responsibility for your life? I encourage you to journal your thoughts while answering these questions. Don't hesitate to take breaks to let things sink in, but don't let it turn into procrastination. My first difficult decision. I remember one of the first difficult decisions in my life. I was 18 and I had just found out that I had been accepted to 2 good universities. University number 1 was located close to my hometown. University number 2 was located over 600 kilometers away from where I lived. I made the decision almost immediately. After making a pros and cons list and talking to several people, I chose university number 1. I saw many good reasons to do that, but above all, staying closer to home seemed safer. However, something didn't feel right, and my choice didn't feel final. There was one reason for that. I didn't want to play it safe. I wanted adventure. So again, I didn't know what to do. I felt paralyzed. One day I was listening to a song on the radio. Nothing's gonna change my love for you. Suddenly, there was a click in my head. University number 2. I had no doubt whatsoever. The decision made itself. I didn't know what happened precisely. For me, it was a random song, yet somehow it gave me 100% clarity. 3 months later, something interesting happened. At the academic ceremony at the beginning of the academic year, the university choir performed the same song, "Nothing's Gonna Change My Love for You." Nothing was gonna change my choice. Today I know what happened. To make that decision with clarity, I had to get out of my mind. So how to make better decisions? It's simple, but not easy. First, I believe there is no such thing as a bad decision. But let's assume there are good decisions and better decisions. So how to make better decisions? Well, make them with clarity. Without clarity, making difficult decisions can be paralyzing. To have more clarity, use the power of mindfulness. But here's the thing. Mindful decisions require mindlessness. Why? Because the mind is hardly ever helpful when you're trying to make a tough choice. In fact, the more you think about what to do, the less clear it gets. Other people's opinions can confuse things further. The more people you ask, the less you know. Plus, other people may not see why particular decisions are difficult for you. They may not understand your anticipated regrets and choice paralysis. They may even think that your problem is trivial. Fortunately, at some point you may be lucky to realize 2 sad truths. Number 1, your mind goes around in circles and it probably won't help you. Number 2, employing an army of people to make the decision for you may be pointless. When you realize this, you'll probably decide to do 2 things. Number 1, take a break from thinking. Number 2, take a break from people. And then, before you know it, you know what to do. Gathering relevant data and talking to a few people should help you make informed decisions. But it is stillness and your inner knowing that will give you clarity about your next step. The bottom line, making the right decisions is about combining facts, data, and opinions with your intuitive knowledge. And what the heck do I know about making decisions? I'm a non-fiction writer and a digital content creator who spent years living abroad. But above all, I believe I'm the right person to write about making difficult decisions. Why? Because I know the agony of decision making. I know the agony of procrastinating and feeling stuck for years. I know the agony of avoiding taking responsibility for my life. I know the agony of choosing distractions to perpetuate confusion. At the same time, I know how to get unstuck and break the pattern. The biggest decision paralysis I've ever experienced was related to me not being sure whether I should return to my home country, Poland, after years of living abroad in the UK and Germany. The fear of the unknown and anticipated regret kept me stuck for a long time. I had to learn the hard way that it's worth making that F-word decision to get to the other side of fear. Here's how sneaky and self-destructive procrastination can be. A few years after I left my home country, I began to feel homesick. At the time, I was living in London, the city of my dreams. I loved London, but I was unhappy there. I loved the UK, but it didn't feel like home and I wanted to feel more stability in my life. In effect, I was feeling stuck and I was tormented by one question. Should I stay or should I go? I began to consider leaving the UK, yet I was scared I would regret my decision. There would be no turning back. I felt so much conflict that I felt paralyzed, unable to move. So I chose procrastination. I got addicted to booking plane tickets and traveling compulsively. This helped me delay making the decision I knew I had to make. Unfortunately, traveling like crazy didn't help me feel at peace with myself. I had visited many places, yet I felt depressed at not being able to find my place. I felt like a crazy fly. And here's what I mean by this. Making decisions and the crazy fly syndrome. Have you ever seen a crazy fly trying to escape a room through a closed window? The insect keeps hitting it, expecting the window pane to magically melt or crack open to let the fly out. I call this no escape situation the crazy fly syndrome. This is how I felt when I got fed up with living abroad but had no clarity about what to do next. I wanted to settle down and stay in one place, but paradoxically, I did the opposite. I chose traveling compulsively and moving from place to place. No place was good enough, so I was looking for the next place to go, hoping it would be the one this time. This is how I kept using the wrong exits to escape my predicament. This was my distraction and a way of avoiding the responsibility of staying in one place for longer. This is how I entered the vicious circle of constantly starting anew. This is how I kept hitting the closed window, unable to get out. I had to hit the closed window many times before realizing there was no escape. You may have a different life situation, but feel as stuck as I did back then. If this sounds familiar, consider these 3 questions. Number 1, are you trying to do the same thing over and over again, hoping for a different result? Number 2, have you considered doing the opposite or something at least slightly different? Number 3, will making this decision give you regrets later? Or will not making this decision give you regrets later? I invite you to write down your answers and thoughts in your journal. So to get unstuck, make that F-word decision. And to make it simple. At the moments of the biggest turmoil and decision paralysis, I would turn to motivational quotes and soothing phrases like "this too shall pass" and the like. It may sound cheesy, but it worked. It helped me shift perspective within seconds. Another therapeutic experience that gave me a lot of clarity was writing The Power of Displacement, a guide for expats who were going through the same struggles. And writing, that is taking action, got me unstuck. I suddenly realized how I used living abroad and traveling as a way of escape. Eventually, I decided to return to my home country for 3 months. In my mind, it was a small risk that I could take. I kept repeating to myself that this was a reversible decision, not a life sentence. I treated it as a test that didn't require big commitments and declarations. I trusted that if I regretted my decision, I could change my mind and return to the UK. It was a difficult transition time for me. Initially, I suffered from reverse culture shock and wanted to return to the UK. But within a few months, everything changed. I didn't want to live in the UK anymore. Instead, I changed careers and bought a flat in Poland. The temporary discomfort was a small price to pay for my new, more peaceful life. So this is what I found on the other side of my paralyzing fears: happiness waiting for me in my country. So the only way to go to the other side of fear was to make that F-word decision. Thank you very much for listening.